I step into the fertility clinic. Seattle morning mist clinging to my coat like unwanted sympathy. The lobby smells of artificial lavender and sanitizer, a combination that turns my stomach after 2 years of appointments. Santiago squeezes my hand as we sit on those same blue chairs where we've waited, month after month, for answers that never seem to satisfy. Mrs. Brooks? The nurse appears with that practiced smile of clinical compassion. Dr. Richard will see you now. The walk to his office feels longer each time. My heels click against the polished floor, the sound echoing my heartbeat. Santiago walks half a step behind, his breathing controlled the way it always is when he's preparing for bad news. Dr. Richard doesn't stand when we enter. His eyes remain fixed on the computer screen, the blue light reflecting off his wire-rimmed glasses. When he finally looks up, I already know. I've reviewed all your tests, Mrs. Brooks. He removes his glasses, pinches the bridge of his nose. There's no clear medical reason why you haven't conceived. My hands begin to tremble. The room shrinks around me, throat constricting as if something physical is lodged there. I blink rapidly, my vision blurring at the edges. But that can't be right, Santiago says beside me, his voice unnaturally high. We've been trying for 5 years. Sometimes there are factors we can't identify through testing. Dr. Richard's voice fades into background noise as I focus on the diplomas behind his head, counting them to keep from falling apart. 5 years of marriage. 5 bakeries established across King County. 5 the number that keeps appearing in my life. Except where it matters most. Santiago's face falls as the reality absorbs into his skin. His shoulders curve forward, protective and defeated simultaneously. I watch him from a strange distance, as if I'm floating above the scene. What about IVF? He asks. The question we've discussed in whispered conversations after midnight. The doctor outlines options, probabilities, costs, numbers and percentages that sound like gambling odds. My body, the one that can lift 50-pound bags of flour and stand for 14-hour baking shifts, has failed at its most basic biological function. I've built a business empire of vanilla bean scones and artisan coffee, while my womb remains stubbornly empty. The irony doesn't escape me. I can create perfect croissants but not a perfect child. Valentina? Santiago's voice pulls me back. Both men are looking at me, waiting for a response to a question I didn't hear. I need some air, I manage to say, my voice sounding foreign to my own ears. The drive home unfolds in silence, Seattle's skyline blurred by the rain or my unshed tears. I can't tell anymore. Santiago keeps both hands on the wheel, his knuckles white with tension. I stare out the window, watching mothers push strollers under store awnings, shielding their babies from the drizzle. My mind wanders back to Santiago, proposing on Alki Beach, the water glittering behind him as he promised a house full of children with your eyes. The memory feels like it belongs to someone else now, someone whose future wasn't crumbling around her. At a red light, the first tears break through my professional composure. Santiago reaches over, his hand covering mine, warm and solid. His touch anchors me momentarily, a reminder that I'm not drowning alone. It's not over, he whispers, but the strain in his voice betrays his own doubt. I wipe my cheeks quickly as the light changes. There must be something we're missing, I say, my analytical mind already searching for solutions, alternatives, anything to fix this problem, like I've fixed every other obstacle in my life. Have you ever felt your body betrayed you despite doing everything right? By the time we reach our Craftsman home in Queen Anne, the silence between us has hardened into something brittle and dangerous. Santiago tosses his keys into the ceramic bowl I made during that pottery class we took last winter, another attempt to reduce stress and just relax, as everyone kept advising. I head straight for the kitchen, my sanctuary. The familiar motions of measuring flour and sugar might calm me where words fail. But Santiago follows, his footsteps heavy on the hardwood floors. Maybe if you hadn't opened the 5th location. He says finally, the words bursting from him like steam from a pressure cooker. The doctor said stress can. That's not fair. I set down the measuring cup with deliberate control. You supported that decision. You helped me find the Ballard location. I supported you because I thought once we had the chain established, you'd slow down. He runs his hands through his hair, leaving it standing in dark spikes. My parents keep asking when we're going to give them grandchildren. My mother called again yesterday. And there it is, the weight of his family's expectations crushing down on us both. The Santiago legacy that must continue. The grandchildren his parents feel entitled to. The subtle comments about how his cousins have all started families while we focus on that bakery business. I need time to process this before we discuss next steps. I turn away, opening the refrigerator to hide my expression. We've been processing for years now, Val. His voice cracks, betraying the pain beneath his frustration. At what point do we accept that this might not happen for us? The question hangs between us like a guillotine blade, our marriage, our future family, my sense of self-worth, all balanced precariously beneath it. I'm going to lie down, I say, abandoning my baking plans. The thought of our marital bed, the place where we've tried and failed so many times to create life, makes my stomach turn. I'll use the spare room. I'm halfway up the stairs when the phone rings. Santiago answers, his voice immediately shifting into a more pleasant register. After a brief conversation, he calls up to me. Your mother's coming over. Says she's bringing comfort food and motherly advice. 20 minutes later, I reluctantly open the door to find Olive standing on our porch, her expression practiced with sympathy, a casserole dish in her hands. Her cream-colored cardigan is perfectly pressed, not a strand of her highlighted hair out of place. You look exhausted, sweetheart. Her eyes assess me with the cold calculation of a jeweler appraising damaged goods. Let me take care of you. Contention of the day. I step back to let her in, too drained to refuse the intrusion. Santiago appears in the hallway, relief washing over his face at the sight of my mother. Thank God you're here, Olive, he says, taking the casserole from her. Maybe you can talk some sense into her. My mother positions herself between us, her hand resting on my lower back with just enough pressure to guide me toward the kitchen. A mother knows what her daughter needs. A mother knows what her daughter needs. She moves through my kitchen with familiar efficiency, putting on the kettle for tea while Santiago sets the table. I watch as she adds honey to the steaming mug, then pulls a small bottle from her purse. A few drops of my special chamomile tincture, she explains, measuring the liquid carefully. It always helped you sleep as a child. I accept the cup from her hands, unaware of what it contains, feeling the warmth spread through my fingers as Olive and Santiago exchange concerned glances over my head. 3 weeks after the devastating fertility clinic visit, I move mechanically through my kitchen, measuring flour for a test batch of cardamom buns. The scale shows perfect precision, unlike my life, which has tilted off its axis. Mother materializes in the doorway, a practiced smile affixed to her face, a small paper bag clutched in manicured hands. Good morning, sweetheart. She places the bag on the counter and unwraps her cashmere scarf. I brought you something special. I brush flour from my hands, watching as she extracts a bottle of vitamins, identical to the others she's delivered since that first night. The label reads Natural Fertility Support with elegant cursive beneath promising hormone balance. These have worked wonders for my friend Barbara's daughter, Olive explains, unscrewing the cap with authority. 3 children after 5 years of trying. She taps 2 pills into her palm, extends her hand expectantly. I swallow the bitter tablets with a glass of water while she watches, her eyes tracking my throat as I gulp them down. Her smile widens slightly before she turns to prepare coffee. Have you been taking them regularly? She asks, though she knows the answer. She's been here every morning, replacing the bottle before it empties, monitoring my compliance with the dedication of a prison warden. Yes, Mom. My voice sounds distant, even to my own ears. Santiago enters, kissing my cheek before nodding to my mother. Olive, you're an angel for helping us through this. His gratitude stings. He believes she's supporting us, unaware of the calculation behind her kindness. The doorbell rings. Andrea bounces in, bringing pastries from a competitor bakery. I notice how her eyes flick to the vitamin bottle, then to our mother, a silent communication passing between them. Just checking on my big sister, Andrea says, hugging me with artificial enthusiasm. Mom's been so worried about you. I'm fine, I reply automatically, though I'm not. Strange symptoms have surfaced in recent days. Unusual fatigue dragging at my limbs, mood swings that leave Santiago bewildered, and most disturbing, coarse dark hair appearing on my jawline where none existed before. As I move to put away ingredients, a memory surfaces last Thanksgiving, catching fragments of conversation through the kitchen door as I returned with dessert plates. My mother's voice, urgent and low. If she has kids, we'll lose her forever. That man will take her completely. Andrea's hesitant response, my father's rumbling agreement. I dismissed it then as typical family possessiveness, but now. You look tired. my mother observes, her tone suggesting concern while her eyes assess. Perhaps you should take a day off. The bakeries can run themselves occasionally. The business meeting that afternoon proves her right, though not in the way she intends. My concentration fractures during profit projections. When my financial director asks a simple question about the new location's timeline, tears spring to my eyes without warning. My staff exchange worried glances as I excuse myself to the bathroom. In the mirror, a stranger stares back, my jawline squarer, a shadow of facial hair despite aggressive waxing yesterday. My voice had cracked twice during the presentation, dropping to a register I didn't recognize. That evening, Santiago creates distance between us on the couch, his body angled away as we watch the news. When I reach for his hand, he squeezes mine briefly before finding an excuse to check email in the other room. Intimacy has dwindled to polite kisses and separate sides of the bed. My mother arrives the next morning, with fresh vitamins and knowing eyes. She moves through my kitchen with familiar efficiency, preparing tea with honey while I slump at the island counter. Some women aren't meant to be mothers, she says casually, sliding the steaming mug toward me. Your business is your baby. Some women choose career over family, there's no shame in that. The words echo earlier sentiments she's expressed throughout my life, when I wanted to pursue culinary school instead of business administration, when I dated Santiago despite her disapproval, when we opened the 5th location, rather than starting fertility treatments sooner. Why do I feel worse after starting these vitamins? I ask, watching her face carefully. A flicker of something crosses her expression, satisfaction, concern. It disappears too quickly to identify. Hormones take time to balance, she replies smoothly. Trust the process. Trust the process. Trust. The word rings hollow as I examine our relationship through this new lens, the controlling advice presented as maternal wisdom, the subtle undermining disguised as support. The constant presence in my adult life, always steering, always watching. 2 days later, I stood before the bathroom mirror again, unable to ignore the changes anymore. My voice has deepened noticeably. Muscle mass has increased across my shoulders despite missing workouts. Angry acne erupts along my jawline like a teenager's. Something is profoundly wrong, and the timing coincides precisely with my mother's special vitamins. From the hallway, I overhear Andrea's voice drifting from the guest room phone. Mom, she's asking questions about the pills. I freeze, listening intently. Your sister built a life that doesn't include us. My mother responds, voice tinny through the speakerphone. These pills will keep it that way. My lungs constrict, as Andrea sighs heavily. Mom, what if this damages her health permanently? Better than losing her to some baby and that husband, Olive snaps. Once the marriage collapses, she'll come back to us completely. Dad says we should ease up, Andrea murmurs. Your mother knows best, my father's voice interjects distantly. Stay out of women's business. The pieces align with sickening clarity, my family's persistent financial dependence on my success, their resentment of Santiago, their constant maneuvering to remain central in my life. This isn't just casual interference. It's calculated destruction of my fertility, my marriage, my autonomy. I slip into our bedroom, hands trembling as I dial a number I haven't called in months. Dr. Sandra Wilson's office. A receptionist answers. This is Valentina Brooks, I say, my voice cracking. I need to speak with Dr. Sandra immediately. It's urgent. 20 minutes later, I'm explaining my symptoms to my longtime OB divided by GYN, the one doctor I've trusted since college. Something isn't right, Dr. Sandra. I need comprehensive hormone testing. She listens without interruption, her professional demeanor slipping only when I describe the changes in my voice and appearance. These symptoms aren't consistent with stress alone, she says finally, writing orders for extensive blood work. When did they start? About 3 weeks ago, when my mother started bringing me special prenatal vitamins. Dr. Sandra's pen pauses mid-prescription. Bring those vitamins next time. I want to look at them. For the first time in weeks, hope flutters in my chest, not for pregnancy, but for answers. As she schedules expedited testing, I realize I'm no longer facing this mystery alone. That evening, when Olive brings my nightly dose, I palm the pills instead of swallowing them. Later, I hid the bottle in my sock drawer instead of taking it. The war for my body has begun, and I finally understand the battleground. 3 days later, Dr. Sandra's office looked different today, less clinical, more like a sanctuary of truth. Her dark wooden desk held a manila folder, test results that would finally explain why my body had betrayed me. The Seattle rain tapped against the window, a gentle metronome counting the seconds until my life changed forever. These numbers are concerning, Valentina. Doctor. Sandra removed her glasses, rubbing the bridge of her nose. Your testosterone levels are dangerously high, well above the normal range for women. My throat tightened. But how? I haven't taken any supplements except the prenatal vitamins your mother gave you, doctor. Sandra opened the folder wider, sliding a paper toward me. I had the lab analyze them. These aren't prenatal vitamins at all. They contain testosterone derivatives typically used by bodybuilders. The room tilted sideways. I gripped the armrests of my chair, steadying myself as the pieces clicked into terrible focus. The bottle was always replaced before I could buy more, I whispered, my voice sounding foreign to my ears. Mom would show up with a new bottle just as the old one was running low. Dr. Sandra nodded, her eyes reflecting a mixture of professional concern and personal outrage. When did your symptoms begin? 3 weeks after Mom started bringing the vitamins. My hands trembled as I traced backward through time. The deeper voice. The unusual hair growth. The mood swings that Santiago attributed to fertility stress. This is medical sabotage, Valentina. Doctor. Sandra's voice hardened. These compounds could cause permanent infertility if continued long-term. They're designed to shut down natural hormone production. The truth crashed through me like a wave breaking against jagged rocks. My mother has been poisoning me to prevent me from having children. Dr. Sandra squeezed my hand. We have the evidence now, blood tests, the contaminated vitamins for lab analysis, your documented symptoms. The power is in your hands. For the first time in months, clarity replaced confusion. Knowledge replaced helplessness. I sat straighter, my mind shifting from victim to strategist. What do we do next? I asked, surprised by the steadiness in my voice. First, we document everything. Then we focus on healing your body. Doctor. Sandra began writing in my chart. And you decide how to handle your mother. Traffic lights blurred as I drove home, but my thoughts had never been clearer. The betrayal burned in my chest, a fire that didn't consume but illuminated. I rehearsed what I would say, how I would watch her face when confronted with the truth. Santiago's car wasn't in the driveway, but my mother's silver Lexus gleamed in the afternoon light. Perfect. I needed to face her alone first. The house smelled of garlic and olive oil, my mother cooking dinner in my kitchen, playing the role of supportive parent. She smiled when I entered, wiping her hands on a dish towel. A new vitamin bottle sat on the counter beside a glass of water, ready for my daily dose of poison. You're home early, sweetheart. Her voice carried the familiar cadence of maternal concern. I thought we'd surprise Santiago with your favorite lasagna. I set my purse on the counter, removing the lab results without a word. Mom, what exactly is in these vitamins you've been giving me? Her smile remained fixed, practiced. Just folic acid, iron, all the usual prenatal ingredients. My friend Janet gave them to me when her daughter was trying to conceive. I nodded, letting her finish the lie before responding. That's interesting, because Dr. Sandra found testosterone in them. I slid the lab report toward her. Enough to prevent pregnancy permanently. For just one heartbeat, her mask slipped. Panic flashed across her face, a momentary crack in her performance before she recovered with a practiced laugh. That doctor is clearly mistaken. She pushed the paper away without reading it. I got these from my friend whose daughter had 3 children after taking them. Why would I give you something harmful? I picked up the vitamin bottle, studying the professional-looking label that concealed the poison within. My voice remained calm, my newfound power radiating through the kitchen. I've stopped taking them, and I won't be taking any more help from you. Valentina, you're stressed. She stepped toward me, hands outstretched. The fertility treatments are making you hormonal, imagining things. These conspiracy theories. I think you should leave now. I moved toward the door, holding it open. But the lasagna. Leave. Now. Her face hardened, the nurturing mother vanishing completely. You're making a mistake. I'm only trying to help you. The sound of keys in the front door interrupted us. Santiago stepped into the foyer, confusion spreading across his face as he took in the scene, my mother gathering her purse, my rigid stance by the open door. What's happening? He asked. Your wife is having some kind of breakdown, my mother said, voice quivering with manufactured concern. I'm worried about her, Santiago. Call me later? I remained silent until her car disappeared down the street, the tension in my shoulders easing slightly as distance grew between us. Val? Santiago touched my arm cautiously. What's going on? I led him to the kitchen table, placing the lab results and medical report before him. My hands shook, but my voice remained steady. My mother has been poisoning me. His eyes widened in disbelief as he scanned the document. This can't be right. Your mother wouldn't do this. There must be a mistake. The phone rang before I could respond. I answered the speaker. Valentina? It's Dr. Sandra again. The laboratory called again as a confirmation with the final analysis of those pills. They confirmed high levels of testosterone derivatives deliberately compounded to appear like prenatal supplements. Santiago's face drained of color as he listened, horror dawning in his eyes. We need to call the police, he whispered, reaching for my hand. I squeezed his fingers. Not yet. We need to understand the full scope first. Andrea's involved too, she always called before Mom visited. Dr. Sandra's voice came through the speaker. Document everything. I'll testify if needed. And Valentina, start the hormone therapy we discussed immediately. The sooner we counteract the effects, the better. After the call ended, Santiago pulled me into his arms. I felt his tears warm against my neck as he held me. I'm so sorry, he whispered. I had no idea, I thought. You weren't meant to know. I closed my eyes, letting myself be held. None of us were. We stood locked together in the kitchen, both crying at the magnitude of betrayal. The truth had severed family bonds but strengthened our marriage in ways I couldn't yet measure. That night, as Santiago slept beside me, I stared at the ceiling, my analytical mind already forming a plan. If I could discover this truth, what else might I uncover? The poisoning had ended, but this was just the beginning. Have you ever caught someone you trusted in a blatant lie? I pinned the last lab report to my evidence board, stepping back to survey what now covers the entire wall of my flagship bakery's office. My fingertips brush against the glossy surface of a photograph, Olive smiling while handing me a pill at Sunday dinner. The image makes my stomach clench. 2 weeks have passed since I confronted her, and the cold objectivity I've cultivated feels like armor protecting my raw emotions underneath. Your hormone levels are improving, but recovery will take months, Dr. Sandra says, placing another medical report in my outstretched hand. The good news is that your fertility should return once the testosterone clears your system completely. I tack the report beneath the others, creating a chronological map of poisoning. Santiago sits at my desk, legal pad, covered in his precise handwriting. According to these precedents, he says, looking up from his laptop, this could be classified as assault or poisoning under Washington state law. The intentional nature makes it a felony. I nod, analyzing the pattern taking shape before me. Andrea always called before Olive visited. Every single time. I mark the dates with a red pen. This was too organized for one person alone. Dr. Sandra studies the board, her professional detachment giving way to genuine anger. The consistency suggests premeditation. They weren't just opportunistic moments. Santiago stands beside me, our shoulders touching. What's our next step? We need to know who else is involved, I say, voice steadier than I feel. And we need to prove conspiracy beyond reasonable doubt. The words taste clinical on my tongue, but the strategy feels right. This isn't about an emotional confrontation anymore. This is about comprehensive justice. Later that evening, Santiago shows me photographs on his camera. Andrea handing packages to Olive outside her house, their heads bent together in conversation. I caught these this morning, he says. She had 3 different bags. One looked like a supplement. I add the images to our growing collection, organizing them by date alongside medical reports. Dr. Sandra has helped me obtain. T levels were highest after these delivery dates, I note, circling a pattern emerging from the data. She was adjusting the dosage. Santiago's jaw tightens. We need to protect your business assets too. If they're willing to do this, they might try to claim you're unstable to gain control of the bakeries. The thought sends ice through my veins, but I nod. I'll call my attorney tomorrow. We'll create a trust they can't touch. While Santiago secures our home-changing locks, installing cameras, recording phone calls, I focus on protecting my business network. I gathered my 5 bakery managers for a confidential meeting. For security reasons, I explain carefully, Neither Olive Brooks nor Andrea Brooks should be allowed access to any storage areas or offices. If they visit, please notify me immediately. Questions fill their eyes, but loyalty prevents them from asking. These people have stood beside me through 16-hour openings and Christmas rush disasters. They nod in unison. We've got your back, Val. Marcus, my longest-serving manager, assures me. At home, I establish a secure location for all evidence. Pill containers stored in sealed bags with dates and times labeled in permanent marker. Voice recordings backed up to 3 different locations. Legal documents organized by potential court relevance. How would you gather evidence against someone who betrayed you? The question echoes in my mind as I work through each methodical step. The doorbell rings late Tuesday afternoon while I'm reviewing security footage from home cameras. Santiago answers, his voice carrying down the hallway. She's working. Now isn't a good time, Andrea. My sister's voice replies, pitched higher than normal. Please? I brought a peace offering. Mom doesn't even know I'm here. I switch on my phone's recording app and slide it into my pocket before joining them at the door. It's fine, Santiago, I say, touching his arm gently. Let's hear what she has to say. Andrea holds a basket filled with pastries, not from my bakeries. Her eyes dart around nervously as she follows me to the kitchen. I thought you might like these, she says, setting the basket down. From that French place you mentioned last Christmas. I pour coffee, watching her reflection in the kitchen window. That's thoughtful. She fidgets with her bracelet. Mom says you're overreacting to the vitamins. They were just to help you relax, Val. You've been working so hard. I keep my expression neutral despite the confirmation tightening my chest. Relaxation supplements? Containing testosterone? Andrea blinks rapidly. I don't know what was in them. She just said they would help with stress. I sip my coffee, buying time. And you believed that? We're worried about you, she continues, voice softening into the tone she uses with difficult customers at her boutique. You've been under so much pressure with the fertility treatments. Maybe you're seeing problems that aren't really there. End portly. The implied accusation hangs between us, paranoia, instability, exaggeration. The very narrative they need to control me. Some family members are discussing an intervention, she adds, eyes not meeting mine, just to help you sort through everything that's happening. The threat registers clearly. They're still trying to control the narrative, to question my competence, to undermine everything I've built. I walk her to the door with practiced pleasantries, my recorder capturing every word. Once she's gone, I replay the conversation for Santiago, watching his face darken with each implication. They're escalating, he says. I add the recording to our evidence wall, a renewed determination strengthening my resolve. So are we. The district attorney slides my evidence folder back across his mahogany desk 2 days later. Morning light through vertical blinds creates prison bar shadows across his face as he leans forward, elbows planted firmly on the polished surface. Mrs. Brooks, you have enough here for criminal charges. Tampering with medication, reckless endangerment, possibly attempted assault. His voice carries the weight of 20 years prosecuting Seattle's worst. The hormone test results alone would convince most juries. I nod, feeling oddly calm despite the gravity of his words. Santiago squeezes my hand under the table, his gold wedding band pressing against my skin. What happens after we file? I ask, my voice steadier than I expected. Your mother will be arrested, fingerprinted, likely released on bail pending trial. Andrea, too, as an accomplice. He removes his glasses, polishing them with a handkerchief. Family cases are messy. Are you prepared for that? Santiago shifts forward. Whatever Valentina decides, I'm with her. Outside the government building, rain patters against my umbrella. Seattle weather mirrors my mood gray, uncertain, but containing purpose within the gloom. I've spent the past 3 weeks meticulously building my case. Medical records chronologically ordered, recorded conversations with Andrea neatly transcribed, testimony from doctor. Sandra prepared and notarized. You're quiet, Santiago observes, navigating our car through downtown traffic. I'm thinking about my bakery security upgrades. The new keycards arrived yesterday. No one enters without proper clearance now. He nods, understanding the subtext. My parents have been permanently banned from all 5 locations. My managers know exactly what to do if they appear. Dr. Sandra called, he says after a pause. Your latest tests show improvement. The testosterone levels are dropping. A small victory. My body has begun the slow process of healing, though Dr. Sandra warns it could be months before my hormones fully normalize. The acne along my jawline has started to fade. My voice has lost some of its unnatural depth. Each symptom's retreat represents one step closer to reclaiming myself. I'm not doing this just for me anymore, I tell Santiago as we pull into our driveway. It's about stopping them permanently. Inside, I check our new security cameras from my phone. Front door, back entrance, garage all clear. Another layer of protection against intrusion. This house used to feel like a sanctuary. Now it's a fortress requiring constant vigilance. Our therapy sessions have helped process the betrayal, but the fear remains lodged between my shoulder blades like an invisible knife. What mother poisons her own daughter? What sister helps her do it? These questions circle my mind at 3 a.m., when sleep proves elusive. 2 days later, my phone buzzes with Santiago's distinctive ringtone. Strange, he just left for the office 20 minutes ago. Santiago? Everything okay? Your father just visited me at work. His voice sounds tight, controlled. He says Olive is worried about your mental health. The knife between my shoulder blades twists. What exactly did he say? That you're having a breakdown. That these delusions about your mother poisoning you are symptoms of stress and possible mental illness. Santiago's breathing quickens. He suggested a family meeting to discuss your condition and treatment options. My hands turn cold. The implications crystallize instantly. They're building a case that I'm unstable. If they convince enough people, could they gain control over my medical decisions? Have me declared incompetent to run my business? They're trying to flip the script, I whisper, sinking into a kitchen chair. Make me the crazy one. I told him to leave, threatened to call security. Santiago pauses. Val, they seem desperate. That makes them dangerous. After we hang up, doubt creeps in like morning fog. Could I be overreacting? The evidence is substantial, but evidence can be interpreted in different ways. What if? No. I grab my phone and call Dr. Sandra. They're saying I'm having a breakdown, I tell her after explaining Dylan's visit to Santiago. Her response is immediate and firm. Valentina, your test results don't lie. Trust the evidence. This is classic gaslighting, making you question your own reality. They want a family meeting. Should I go? Absolutely not. Not on their terms. They're accelerating their timeline, which means we need to accelerate ours. Her voice becomes gentle but urgent. Have you decided how you want to confront them? The plan has been forming gradually, like bread dough rising in the back of my mind. Now it solidifies. Their anniversary party is this Saturday. 80 guests, all their friends, the entire family. A public venue. Smart, Dr. Sandra says. Less chance of them controlling the narrative. They used family gatherings to manipulate me for years. I'll use one to expose them. After we hang up, I feel curiously calm. Every piece is positioned, evidence compiled, witnesses ready, attorney on standby. Santiago and Dr. Sandra are fully prepared. Even my bakery staff know their roles if needed. I walk to our bedroom closet, sliding hangers across the rod until I find what I'm searching for, not the floral dress Olive would expect me to wear to her anniversary, but my charcoal power suit with subtle pinstripes. The one I wore to secure financing for my third location. On Saturday, I whisper to my reflection as I hold it against my body. Everyone will know exactly who you are. Have you ever had someone try to make you doubt your own reality? On Saturday, I step into my parents' grand colonial home in Magnolia, the anniversary banner stretching across the entryway like a false promise. 35 years of love, it proclaims in golden script, and I fight the urge to tear it down. Santiago's hand finds the small of my back, steadying me as we cross the threshold into the lion's den. You ready for this? He whispers, his breath warm against my ear. As ready as I'll ever be, I reply, smoothing down the lapels of my charcoal suit. The power outfit was a deliberate choice, no soft fabrics or floral patterns tonight. I need armor. The house buzzes with almost 80 guests, glasses clinking, and laughter floating beneath crystal chandeliers that have witnessed decades of family performances. My mother spots us immediately, her radar for opportunities to control never failing. Valentina. Olive glides toward us in a perfectly tailored plum dress, arms outstretched as if we'd parted on good terms 3 weeks ago. I was beginning to think you wouldn't come. She embraces me, the scent of her Chanel perfume, the same she's worn since I was a child, momentarily transporting me back to simpler times before I knew the truth. I remain rigid, counting to 3 before stepping back. We wouldn't miss Dad's big speech, I say, my voice carrying the practiced neutrality I've perfected in business negotiations. Santiago nods politely. Congratulations on 35 years, Olive. My mother's eyes flick to him, a flash of calculation visible before her mask of maternal concern returns. You both look tired, especially you, sweetheart. Her fingers brush my cheek. Still having trouble sleeping? The audacity nearly breaks my composure. The testosterone she fed me for months is still disrupting my sleep patterns. A fact, doctor. Sandra confirmed last week. Actually, I'm sleeping better than ever. I lie, watching her face for a reaction. Across the room, I spot Andrea hovering near the bar, her eyes darting between me and our mother. When our gazes lock, she quickly looks away, guilt written in the slump of her shoulders. Santiago follows my line of sight and squeezes my hand. There's Dylan, he says, nodding toward my father, who stands surrounded by his golf buddies, playing the role of jovial host. We make our way through the crowd, accepting congratulations on the new bakery location from family friends who have no idea what's happening beneath the surface of our picture-perfect family. My father's expression tightens when he sees us approaching, his booming laugh cutting off mid-sentence. The successful business owners arrive. He announces too loudly, clapping Santiago on the shoulder with forced camaraderie. My daughter, the bakery queen of Seattle. Congratulations, Dad, I say, allowing a brief hug. 35 years is quite an accomplishment. His eyes carry none of the warmth they held throughout my childhood. Instead, I see calculation, the same look he gives competitors on the golf course before driving the ball past them. Indeed it is. He agrees, raising his whiskey glass. Family loyalty above all else. That's the secret. The words land like a threat. I hold his gaze, refusing to look away first. If I could have everyone's attention, my father calls out suddenly, tapping his glass with a spoon. The party quiets as guests turn toward him. Olive and I want to thank you all for celebrating this milestone with us. My mother materializes at his side, their synchronized movements honed by decades of public performance. But tonight isn't just about our past, Dylan continues, his eyes finding me in the crowd. It's about our future. We have some exciting family business to discuss with our daughter, if you'll excuse us for just a few minutes. My pulse quickens. This wasn't part of their normal script, they're accelerating their timeline. Santiago's hand tightens around mine as my father gestures toward his study. Andrea appears at my mother's side, her face a mask of conflicted emotions. What's this about, Dad? I ask loudly enough for nearby guests to hear. Just a quick family matter, he responds with a tight smile. Won't take long. I follow them into the book-lined study, the room where my father has closed countless business deals over cigars and brandy. The door clicks shut behind us, and I'm suddenly 15 again, being lectured about college choices that will keep me close to home. You've been avoiding our calls. My mother begins without preamble, perching on the edge of my father's mahogany desk. I wonder why, I responded, standing near the door. Santiago positions himself beside me, a united front. Andrea hovers near the window, picking at her cuticles the way she did when we were children and in trouble. Val, we're worried about you, she says, her voice soft with practiced concern. That's rich coming from the person who delivered poison to our mother for months. The words fly out sharper than I intended, but I'm past caring about social niceties. My father's face darkens. This paranoid behavior has got to stop, Valentina. You're ruining your life with these delusions. Delusions? I repeat, incredulous, despite knowing this would be their strategy. I have blood tests, lab results, and recorded conversations proving exactly what happened. My mother exchanges a glance with my father, some silent communication passing between them. She approaches me slowly, hands outstretched in supplication. Sweetheart, we know you're devastated about not being able to conceive, she says, her voice dripping with manufactured sympathy. But blaming others won't change biology. The room suddenly feels too small, too hot. Is that what this is about? You're still using my infertility, the infertility you caused to manipulate me? Andrea steps forward. Val, we know Santiago is leaving you, he told us. The words hit me like a physical blow. I turn to Santiago, whose face contorts in shock before hardening into anger. That's a damned lie, he snaps. I've never spoken to any of you alone. He's filing for divorce next week, my father continues, as if Santiago hadn't spoken. He wants children, and you can't give him that. He came to us out of respect. My breath catches in my throat. Their audacity is breathtaking, creating fiction to isolate me when I'm at my most vulnerable. You'll always have family here, my mother soothes, reaching for my hand. I jerk away from her touch, even if you can't be a mother. Andrea's voice softens further. If you can't have kids of your own, you can help with mine when the time comes. We'll still be a family. I almost laugh at the absurdity, but there's nothing funny about this calculated cruelty. My father clears his throat, moving to his desk to retrieve a folder. We've drawn up papers to buy your shares of the bakery, he says, all pretense of concern vanishing. For the family's good. You're not thinking clearly right now. And there it is, the true agenda emerging. This was never about my well-being. It was about reclaiming control over my life and assets, using my infertility as leverage. The door opens behind us, and Santiago lets out a sound of relief. Doctor. Sandra stands in the doorway, precisely on schedule, medical folder in hand. Sorry I'm late, she says, surveying the room with professional calm. Traffic was terrible. My mother's face pales. This is a private family meeting. Then it's fortunate I brought reinforcements, I reply as my bakery manager Ryan appears behind Dr. Sandra, holding a tablet. I think it's time everyone knew the truth. The door to the study swings wide open as Santiago steps into the hallway. Ladies and gentlemen, he announces to the curious party guests who have gathered nearby. My wife has something important to share with all of you. I stride past my stunned family members, my legs steadier than I expected. The evidence folder I've carried in my bag feels like a weapon now, loaded with truth instead of bullets. My father lunges forward, grabbing my arm. Valentina, don't do this. Think about your mother's reputation. You should have thought about that before poisoning your daughter, Santiago hisses, removing my father's hand from my arm. As I walk back into the main room, guests part before me like the Red Sea. I spot familiar faces, my parents' closest friends, business associates, extended family, all watching with expressions ranging from curiosity to concern. I apologize for interrupting the celebration. I begin, my voice carrying across the now silent room. But I've recently discovered something that affects not just me, but potentially other women in this community. I nod to Ryan, who connects his tablet to my parents' large television screen. The medical results appear hormonal panels showing testosterone levels far above normal female range. For the past year, I've been systematically poisoned by my own family. I continue, my voice steady despite the pounding of my heart. These are my blood test results from 3 weeks ago. A collective gasp ripples through the crowd. My mother pushes through to the front, her face contorted with rage and fear. She's having a breakdown, she shouts, looking desperately at longtime friends for support. She's always been unstable. Dr. Sandra steps forward, professional and composed. I'm Dr. Sandra Wilson, Valentina's OB divided by GYN for the past 8 years. These test results are accurate and concerning. The levels of testosterone in her system could cause permanent infertility. My father attempts to regain control, his voice booming across the room. This is a private family matter. We'll handle this at home. But the crowd isn't dispersing. If anything, more guests press forward, watching the drama unfold with horrified fascination. I nod to Ryan again, and he taps the screen. Andrea's voice fills the room. Mom says the vitamins will help you relax. Just take them, Val. We all want what's best for you. Andrea crumples against the wall, tears streaming down her face. I didn't know what was in them, I swear. She sobs. She just said they would help you focus on family instead of work. The atmosphere in the room shifts palpably. Several of my parents' oldest friends step away from them, moving closer to where I stand. Santiago takes his place beside me, his hand finding mine in a public declaration of support. I've seen every piece of evidence, he tells the crowd, voice clear and unwavering. It's all true. My mother makes one last desperate attempt, lunging toward the tablet as if she could erase the evidence displayed there. Turn that off. This is my anniversary party. I meet her eyes, seeing not my mother but a stranger capable of unimaginable cruelty. I'm not finished, I announce to the riveted audience. There's more everyone needs to know. I stand in the center of my parents' anniversary party, heart hammering against my ribs as 80 pairs of eyes lock onto me. The projector screen behind me casts a blue glow across the stunned faces of family friends, neighbors, and colleagues who've known my parents for decades. As I was saying, I continue, my voice steadier than I feel. This isn't a mental breakdown or family disagreement. This is methodical poisoning. I click to the next slide. A clinical timeline appears, each date marked with pill bottles, symptoms, and blood test results. For those just joining us, I've been systematically fed testosterone derivatives by my mother for over a year, specifically to prevent me from conceiving a child with my husband. A collective gasp ripples through the room. Dr. Sandra steps forward, her gray blazer lending authority to her presence. I've been Valentina's physician for 12 years, she says, addressing the crowd. These levels of testosterone are unprecedented in a woman without a medical condition. The pills Valentina was given could cause permanent infertility, liver damage, and irreversible masculinization. Santiago moves to stand beside me, his hand finding the small of my back. Our marriage nearly collapsed because of this. We blamed each other, ourselves, everything except what was actually happening. I click again. The screen shows surveillance footage from our kitchen. There's my mother, Olive, emptying a vitamin bottle and replacing the contents with different pills when she thinks no one is watching. This footage was taken weeks ago, I explained. After we became suspicious, we installed cameras. My father, Dylan, steps forward. Turn that off immediately. His voice carries the command he's used my entire life, the tone that always made me shrink back. Not today. No. The single word feels like victory on my tongue. I click again. Audio crackles through the speakers. If she has children, we'll lose her forever, my mother's voice says clearly. These pills will keep it that way. Mom, what if this damages her health permanently? Andrea's voice sounds uncertain. Better than losing her to some baby and that husband. The color drains from Andrea's face as her own voice condemns her. She looks wildly around the room, finding no sympathy. Mom told me to do it just to keep you with us. My mother lunges toward the computer controlling the presentation. She's manipulating these recordings. She's always been unstable. Santiago blocks her path. Don't touch anything, Olive. My mother spins toward the crowd, her carefully applied makeup cracking as her face contorts. My daughter is trying to destroy this family, 35 years of marriage, and this is how she repays us. But I can see it in the eyes of the guests. No one believes her. You are drifting away, she shrieks, abandoning pretense. You chose him and that business over family. My father attempts to regain control. As your father, I demand this stop immediately. This is a private family matter. Santiago steps forward, his voice vibrating with controlled rage. You lost the right to demand anything when you poisoned my wife. Mrs. Henderson, my mother's friend of 30 years, approaches her with horror etched across her lined face. How could you do this to your own daughter, Olive? You don't understand, my mother pleads, reaching for Mrs. Henderson's hand. She was slipping away from us. Mrs. Henderson pulls back as if burned. No parent poisons their child to keep them close. That's not love, that's control. Dr. Michaels, a retired physician who's attended my parents' dinner parties for decades, examines the medical reports I've distributed. He looks up, face grave. These testosterone levels are consistent with deliberate hormone manipulation, he announces. This isn't a misunderstanding, it's medical sabotage. My mother sways on her feet, clutching at her chest. You have no right. The lab results speak for themselves. I cut in, my voice clear and unwavering. Andrea collapses into a chair, sobbing openly now. I'm sorry, Valentina. I should have stopped her. I was scared of what would happen if I didn't help. My mother turns to her, fury replacing shock. Shut up, Andrea. But Andrea keeps talking, words tumbling out between sobs. She said we'd lose everything if you had children. That Santiago would take your money. That we'd never see you again. She made me believe we were protecting you. I watch my mother's face as her remaining support crumbles. The room has shifted, guests moving physically away from my parents, several coming to stand near me and Santiago. The power dynamic that controlled my life for 32 years shatters before my eyes. My mother's legs buckle. She grabs for the nearest table, sending glasses crashing to the floor as she goes down. My father rushes to her side, his face twisted with panic. Someone call an ambulance, he shouts, cradling her head. I stand unmoved, watching the performance. Doctor. Sandra kneels beside them, checking my mother's pulse. It's just a shock, she says after a moment. Her pulse is strong. I look down at the woman who gave birth to me, who then spent decades ensuring I couldn't do the same. You never wanted me happy, I told her quietly. But today, I take back my life. The sliding doors to the backyard open. Officer Brennan steps in, his uniform commanding immediate attention. I received a call about a potential assault case, he says, scanning the room until his eyes land on me. Officer, I say, I'd like to report a case of poisoning and medical tampering. He nods, professional and direct. We'll need statements from everyone involved. My mother moans dramatically from the floor. She's trying to ruin us, after everything we've done for her. The officer remains unmoved. Ma'am, tampering with medication is a felony in Washington state. Depending on intent, you could be looking at charges of assault, reckless endangerment, or attempted grievous bodily harm. Capus? Andrea is led to a separate corner by another officer who's arrived. She goes without resistance, tears still streaming down her face. Mrs. Henderson approaches me, taking both my hands in hers. I've known your mother for 3 decades and I never imagined. I'm so sorry, dear. One by one, guests come forward offering support, confirming they witnessed the evidence, expressing horror at what was done to me. Doctor. Sandra speaks quietly with Officer Brennan, her professional demeanor unfaltering. This was calculated medical sabotage. I have documented the effects on her health over the past year. Santiago wraps his arms around me from behind, his chest warm against my back. You've shown incredible strength today, he whispers against my hair. For the first time since this nightmare began, I feel tears prick my eyes, not from fear or anger, but relief. I didn't just want justice for myself. I tell him, watching as my mother is helped to a chair, sedated by paramedics while my father hovers uselessly nearby. I wanted to make sure they couldn't hurt anyone else. The evidence boards, the recorded conversations, the medical reports, everything we meticulously prepared has served its purpose. Justice unfolds around us, clinical and procedural, validating months of careful planning. Mrs. Reynolds, who taught me piano as a child, touches my arm. When you're ready, I'd like to be a character witness. What they did to you was unconscionable. I nod, gratitude washing through me. Thank you. Santiago squeezes my hand. Should we go? I look around the room one last time at my mother's collapsed form, my father's bewildered face, my sister's isolation. Then at the circle of support that has formed around us. Doctor. Sandra, our friends, even strangers moved by the truth. Yes, I say. Let's go home. We walk out together, surrounded by people offering their support. The weight that's pressed on my chest for years has lifted. Whatever legal battles lie ahead, whatever recovery my body still faces tonight, truth won. I step into the cool evening air, a different woman than the one who entered this party 2 hours ago. No longer a victim, but a woman who reclaimed her power and with it, her future. A week later, the courthouse buzzes with whispered conversations as I sit on the hard wooden bench, my back straight despite the exhaustion pulling at my shoulders. Santiago's hand covers mine, warm and steady, an anchor in the storm we've weathered together. Across the aisle, Olive sits with her lawyer, her cream-colored cardigan perfectly pressed as always, though her makeup fails to hide the hollow shadows beneath her eyes. The state versus Olive Brooks. The clerk announces, and I feel a surreal disconnect hearing my mother's name followed by criminal charges. Reckless endangerment, tampering with a consumer product. Andrea stands separately with her own attorney, her testimony against our mother buying her a reduced charge of aiding and abetting. She catches my eye briefly, then looks away, shoulders curving inward with shame. My father isn't being prosecuted, not enough evidence, but his absence from the courtroom speaks volumes about his social disgrace. Your Honor, we're prepared to move forward with the civil suit for medical costs and emotional distress, my attorney explains, after the criminal proceedings conclude. The judge nods, her eyes finding mine with something that looks like respect. Outside, a small crowd of reporters waits. Mrs. Brooks, can you comment on what they're calling the fertility pill tampering case? A journalist calls out. Santiago steps forward protectively, but I touch his arm. This isn't just about me. I tell the cameras steadily. It's about every woman's right to make her own reproductive choices. That evening, My phone filled with messages, 3 support groups for reproductive autonomy asking me to speak, 2 bakery locations reporting sales increases as the community rallies around me. Doctor. Sandra calls with my latest hormone results. The levels are improving with the therapy, she says, her voice warm with more than clinical concern. Your body is resilient, Valentina. For the first time in months, I slept through the night without waking in panic. Santiago's arm drapes across my waist, his breath even against my neck. Tomorrow will bring more healing, more rebuilding, but tonight, I rest in the certainty that they can never hurt me or our future children again. The bell above the door of our 6th bakery location chimes as I walk through 1 year later. Sunlight streams through the windows, illuminating the fresh paint and gleaming countertops. The scent of vanilla and cinnamon wraps around me like an old friend. The judge's statement was unequivocal. Santiago says, reading from his phone as he follows me inside. Reproductive rights are inviolable. This was both dangerous and unethical. I nod, arranging pastries in the display case. 18 months probation and community service seems light for what she did. Plus the $250,000 in damages, he reminds me, and Andrea's probation. The contrast with where I was a year ago feels stark. My confidence has returned along with my health. The hormone levels have normalized. And doctor? Sandra believes fertility treatments have a strong chance of success now. Santiago and I attend therapy together every Tuesday, rebuilding the trust that almost crumbled under the weight of manipulation. We've established clear boundaries, no contact with Olive or Dylan, and limited supervised visits with Andrea, who seems genuinely remorseful. The financial trust is finalized. I tell Santiago as we prepare for our staff meeting. No family claims can touch the business assets now. He smiles, the warmth reaching his eyes in a way it couldn't during those dark months. You've thought of everything. Later that week, I speak at a women's health symposium about medical autonomy. Looking out at the audience of attentive faces, I wonder how many others might be experiencing manipulation disguised as care. How would you rebuild your life after such profound betrayal? The question follows me home, sparking ideas for outreach programs we might support. The hospital room fills with soft morning light 3 years after that first devastating appointment with Dr. Richard. I cradle our newborn daughter against my chest, her tiny hand wrapped around my finger with surprising strength. Santiago sits on the edge of the bed, tears sliding unchecked down his cheeks as he strokes her dark curls. She has your eyes, he whispers, voice breaking with joy. Just like I always dreamed. Dr. Sandra checks the monitors one last time before removing her gloves. Your body healed beautifully, Valentina. She's perfect. The door opens softly, and Andrea steps in hesitantly, carrying a small stuffed bear. Her eyes widen at the sight of the baby, and she hangs back near the doorway until I gesture her closer. Would you like to meet your niece? I ask, watching her carefully. Can I? Her voice trembles. After everything? You can know her, I say, measuring my words. But trust must be earned back slowly. She nods, accepting this boundary as she approaches. Santiago makes space for her to see the baby, his forgiveness coming more slowly than mine. Olive and Dylan chose not to acknowledge the pregnancy or birth, their final rejection of a grandchild they once claimed to desperately want. Their absence feels like freedom, rather than loss. In the quiet afternoon, while Santiago takes a call outside, and Andrea has gone, I hold my daughter up to the window, where light bathes her face. On the windowsill sits a photo of myself at her age, eyes full of possibility before the world taught me caution. Family isn't who shares your blood, I whisper to her. It's who respects your boundaries. Next month, I begin writing a book about my experience. The foundation we established has already helped 3 women recognize and escape reproductive coercion. My daughter will grow up knowing her worth isn't in her womb but in her whole self, boundaries intact, dreams unfettered. Later, we walk out of the hospital into golden sunshine. Santiago carries the car seat while I hold our discharge papers, both of us blinking in the bright light of this new beginning.